Mr. Secretary, you said there's a 15.5 billion funding that you need. The immediate need is for 6.9.5 billion. That's one that has the retroactive portion to it.
9.05.
9.05. And that we need that as soon as possible.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the balance of 6.5 in the middle of the year or
Well, towards the end of the year.
towards the end of the year. And as the good gentleman said initially, is there a ceiling ba that the Pantawid program is only for 4.4 million families? Can't we increase it? I mean, of course, depending on the availability of funds, but what's the number that we're trying to maintain it? I mean-
Madam Chair, we would love to accommodate more. In fact, my wait list kami na almost 500,000, which comes close to the number being ascertained by Secretary Lope. But Madam Chair, in the Philippine Development Plan, it was stated there 4.4 million household. So that being the development plan of the country, which can, I'm sure, easily be amended, but it will go through the, I'm sure, the proper vetting forum, such as Congress. Yun po, ma'am. We're sort of capped there by 4.4. That's why when Congress allocates the funds, it's always at 4.4.
But that's in the Philippine Development Plan. That's
Yes.
not in the law.
It's not in the law. No, it's not in the law. It's in the Philippine Development Plan.
Oh, okay. So we can actually increase it.
If it goes through the amending of the Philippine Development Plan, which we've been lobbying very hard to also increase.
Okay.
A while ago, you were saying na I was lost there, you know. Yung sa education grant, how much is allotted for the education grant for our poor peace beneficiaries?
It's by tier. It's by school year. A maximum of 3 children. Each one will. Okay.
5,000?
Hindi po. Pag daycare to elementary, they get 300 pesos.
Yes, yes,
Pag
correct.
junior, 500. Junior high, 500. Pag senior high, 700.
Yes, Mr. Secretary, I know that, but how much is the total allotment that the Congress allotted for that? The total.
Madam Chair, it's lump sum. Yung
Yeah.
grants namin is not disaggregated based on education, health, or rice grants. Binibigay nyo sa amin ng buo and it's up to us to
Oh.
sino nag-comply at sino hindi nag-comply and appropriate it properly.
So in
based
other
on
words,
compliance.
Mr. Secretary, yung 15.5 deficit that we are talking about,
Actual na po yan.
actual yeah, tapos kayo na yung nagbabalanse.
Ang ginawa
it
namin,
goes.
Madam Chair, kinuha namin lahat ng compliance because
Yes.
we computed the compliance amount.
So it varies.
It varies, pero ang actual amount as we speak na utang natin na retroactive for those na nabalik sa listahan is what I mentioned at around 6.5 billion.
Yes, okay. The 16.5 billion.
6.5.
No, yeah, okay. But the deficit is 15.5.
Correct.
So the 15.5 deficit goes to rice subsidy, education,
Other grants, yung
Other
mga
grants.
health grants.
Yes,
Tapos rice subsidy and yung health,
Yes.
education, and rice.
correct. And in other words, through your presentation, we were able to see yung pong utilization mo noong 2023 that 669 million were utilized 99%.
Yung 100 plus billion. Yung natira na lang is 600 ang natira na lang Madam Chair Kong 769 million but the total allocation for the program is at 93 billion.
I see.
So meaning at 93
Okay.
billion we were able to obligate 99% of
Percent.
that.
And for that, congratulations, sir. No? And nakakalungkot that this budget that we have allotted, no, unfortunately was I think it was cut or it was realigned. But we will be talking about it later. But kasi I've been a mayor also of Santa Rosa. And I know where you're coming from. At naintindihan ko yung CBMS natin that we implemented during that time that we were mayor together. Talagang it's an old records of those who are poor, no? And as a matter of fact, kanina you were saying that 30% na para bang inclusion and exclusion, no? I believe hindi siya masyado accurate kung we're talking about the 30% inclusion and exclusion because more of these are inclusion. Oh, because yung exclusion halos kakaunti na lang yung nagiging umaangat sa kanilang di ba? But I think the more proper way to kasi when I was a part of the League of the Mayors when we started this, sa CBMS, I found out that there are more poor people that are in the list. Oo. Kaya I think kung 30% of inclusion and exclusion, mas marami dito yung percentage ng inclusion. Am I correct, Mr. Chairman?
That's a rough estimate from PSA. Basically, what they're saying is, maaring 30% ng current na populasyon natin na mahihirap, wala dyan. At meron ring malamang na 30% na maaring nasa loob. But ang qualification natin dun sa na-include na maaring hindi, humirap ang buhay after COVID. So yung dating hindi mahirap, naging mahirap. But bottom line, what I'm trying to drive at, Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, delikado na yung lumang listahan. Listahan ng 3 is very obsolete, coming to its age. Siguro we can utilize it one more year, pero pigang-piga na ho yun. So hopefully by next year, we use the CBM, a new CBMS, newly ran CBMS.
And most likely, with your guidance with all the different mayors together with the DILG, we can somehow issue a circular again for the LGUs to update the CBMS. Can we do that, Mr. Secretary?
Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, the good congressman is correct. Sabay ho kami naging mayor, so we know this very well. May batas na ho and it's mandated already. The last Congress, your Congress, approved it. PSA, from my understanding, is sila na kasi maging lead agency in data gathering, in formulating the questionnaire, in executing it. Of course, with the help of DILG.
Unfortunately.
Yung pera, I believe, and I can only assume from what I was told, is in the unprogrammed side. Wala siya talagang direct line item, and that's why PSA has been asking us to also explain to our policymakers the danger of not releasing that unprogrammed of PSA in the soonest possible time.
Yes, kasi Mr. Chairman, talaga magkakaroon to ng problem because a lot of people who are not included in the list, no? And most likely, mas marami na ngayon. Kasi na-practice na natin pagbigay ng tupad, ng mga benepisyo, and people are looking that they'll be included in the listahan 1 and 2 and 3 as well. But unfortunately, kung wala tayong CBMS na updated, magkakaroon talaga po tayo ng problem. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Secretary, dito sa presentation mo, you have I have noticed that you have consultative meeting with the DBM on January 29, 2024. What transpired with that meeting?
Basically, nag-worry ho kasi kami dito sa wala yung kulang natin,
That deficit.
unappropriated 9 billion. Nag-worry ho kami diyan kasi nagko-comply na lahat. In 1 to 2 weeks right after Holy Week, tapos na yung compliance. And of course, our beneficiaries will start looking for their grants. Kasi
Yes.
nabayaran na natin yung iba, last I mentioned. So a big chunk of this will start saying, oh, complied na kami, but ayaw nyo kami bayaran. And between us, mahirap sabihin na hindi man namin alam paano ipapaliwanag. So to
Okay,
speak.
Mr. Secretary, for more clarity, so these 9 billion that we are talking about, that you have a discussion with DBM, are exactly on education grant, on rice subsidy, and the
Health, yes.
health grant. No.
Health grant.
Health grant, correct.
Health.
So this is the totality of that 9 billion that is unappropriated right now.
Iba pa yon. Yes, sir. Tama. The two of you are correct.
So, again, ano pong sinabi ng DBM?
I am no expert in appropriations, but we were trying to contest na doon sa special provision. I'm sure you know this very well.
Yes.
Na we can, na our contention was, if I read it, the 106 billion appropriated herein for the Pantawid Pamilya shall be used to support poverty reduction and social development strategy of the national government, provided that the 4 Ps covered are eligible beneficiaries under section blah blah blah. The said amount includes cash grants, rice subsidy, and the other grants thereof. The above mentioned beneficiaries are compliant. In our opinion kasi, as long as compliant ka, and then beneficiary ka, you're covered by this. Meaning we can use our contention, and we're probably not right, I'm sure we're not. The current appropriation, plano namin sana gamitin for the previous payable. Kasi it made no distinction, in our opinion, the special provision made no distinction between years. Diba? Parang sinabi niya, basta, ano ka, kung tatagalugin ko, kasi nandito yung mga ibang 4-piece beneficiary, na kung ikaw ay kwalipikadong beneficiaryo ng 4-piece, dapat na gamitin nyo tong pera na to pang bayad. It never, in our opinion, in our humble opinion, never said 2023 pang 2023. We're treating it hopefully like a trade payable. Na pagka nakalibro siyang payable, like just like any other supplier, pwede mo gamitin yung current appropriation. But we're still waiting officially for DBM's written answer. They're also doing their due diligence on the matter. So yun ang naging ending namin.
So in other words, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Secretary, the requirements and the prerequisites that
Have been met.
entails on that program was satisfied
Yes.
by the department,
By the
And-
beneficiaries.
by the beneficiaries and the department.
Yes.
With that, it was included as well in the National Expenditure Program. The budget of
Yes,
in
correct.
the NEP for
Correct.
2024, it was included,
Both for 2023
and 2024, it was included.
Yes.
So in other words, it passed through the Congress. So we have seen the appropriated amount that was written on the NEP. So what happened to the 9 billion that now you are asking if we were able to appropriate on our side about this 9 billion pesos that was written on the NEP?
Okay, Mr. Chair, I can't assume what happened. Basta all we know is that when we submitted our NEP, our proposal, it was there.
Yes.
Kasi we have a rough estimate of, di ba, we're assuming that all 4.4 will comply. So when we submit it, buo po yun. Now, what happens inside Congress, we're not privy to it. So, yun ako, I'm afraid I cannot I cannot hypothesize. But one thing I can say, in the national expenditure, when we submitted it, mas malaki pa nga. In our tier 2, mas malaki pa yung
And
sinabit.
that's the reason why, Mr. Chairman, I want to be educated on this issue, because when the good secretary was here in the last budget hearing, he never approached us on this issue precisely because he assumed that the budget will not be touched or be realigned. And as a matter of fact, ang pagkakasabi ng ating good secretary, mas mapalaki pa nga yung budget. So I'm wondering what happened to that budget that was slashed out of the budget of the Department of Social Welfare and Development. Mr. Chair, maybe you are privy on this, so can you kindly give us an
Oh, we have to check muna kay Sec Rex. Kasi Sec Rex,
yes.
if you, in your presentation, I just follow your presentation. Kasi yung proposed budget nyo nga is supposedly for fiscal year 2023, 119 billion, di ba? And it was last by 4 billion. Tama?
Ang pinasok sa NEP is
Yeah.
115.
Of course, your
Yeah.
proposed budget is 119, di ba? So it's almost
Very close to each
to 4 billion. Now, but in Dagaa, it's only 102 billion.
Correct.
Tama.
Correct.
Kaya
Correct.
nawala yung 9 billion.
Ang nawala sa 2023 po is in the third column. Negative 13
Kaya,
billion.
tama. Negative 13. Pero
Ang
yung
sa
deficit,
2024,
Pero yung-
negative 6.5.
pero yung deficit na dito for 2023 is
Nine.
only 9 billion
Correct. Correct, sir. May difference po talaga.
because of the listing.
One, the non-compliance of others, di ba?
Okay.
We maximize all the time. We always assume that they will submit. Pero some of them will not comply, so lumiliit po siya.
But anyway, just to
I'm not a member of the Committee on Appropriation, and maybe I am not
anyway,
truly,
nandito po yung senior vice chair. But before,
Sir, if I can add the
andali.
wait,
Sir, may sagot na po.
yes,
dun sa
please
tanong.
proceed.
The reason bakit merong gap between the deficit, the projected deficit, and the decrease, the proposal, is because 95% lang ang compliance. May 5% ng populasyon ng 4.4 hindi nakaka-comply. So, hindi natin sila babayaran ng grant na yon, that particular grant.
So instead of 13, 9 lang talagang actual.
Yes,
Not
yes,
deficit.
yes, Mr.
Kasi
Chair.
yun lang po yung talagang na-qualify.
Yes, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
And you have explained this, Mr. Secretary, sa DBM, that the priority is this 9 billion.
We've explained both. Both will become priorities. Mr. Chair, yung 6, kung pupunta na lang kami sa DBM, hiningi na namin buo.
Yes.
Kasi yung 6 billion come end of the year, hahabol din yun eh.
So in other words, kapag hindi tayo nakapaglagay ng 9 billion dito, in other words, magkakaroon tayo ng talagang more deficit.
Yes. Yes,
Diba?
correct. You're correct.
Yeah. So what will be what will happen if ever na hindi natin tumalagyan ng 9 billion for this year, in the next year that you will be submitting your budget for 2025, how much will be the deficit?
Mr. Chair, I can give you a bird's eye view. No? Yung 9 billion na yon, a big chunk of that are education grants. No? A big chunk of that are education grants. Halo-halo siya, pero malaking porsyento nun are education grants. I'll just give you the data collated for the past couple of years. Because of that education grant, 81% of the beneficiaries registered better school enrollment. Ibig sabihin na e-enganyo silang paaralin yung mga anak nila, papasukin yung mga anak nila, kasi may grant.
Yeah.
A lot of them have shown, 81% of them have shown at good attendance and enrollment. Number 2, 89% of them, dahil nasa school sila, nakakakuha ng deworming. And these are very vital interventions that we envisioned when this program was created. So kung hindi natin, I can only assume na pag hindi natin mababayaran yung education grant, tatamarin, pangit man pakinggan yung word na tatamarin, suddenly they'll go back to the, di ba, we're correcting a behavior here. We're telling them, pag pinapasok mo yung anak mo, marirealize mo na para sa'yo yan, pero may konting insentibo o tulong pang gastos. Eh pag hindi na natin yan mabibigay, baka mag-regress sila pabalik. The good rates that we are getting, the initial success of the program might regress.
In other words, all the efforts and the hardship that we gone through with this four-piece program will just go to naught.
Yes, and what I'm trying to say then is we cannot send the wrong signal
Yeah,
to our
correct.
beneficiaries
Yeah.
that government cannot be relied upon. Na pag kinomit natin, what we owe them, we pay them. That's what I'm scared of, na mawala ng kredibilidad yung programa in the long run.
Maraming salamat po mga ka-blessings.